Thank you for tuning in to the Real Tea with T3. My name is Tisha Harris. I'm the team leader of Texas Trio Team. And so we have an amazing episode ready for you today. We're going to go around and introduce ourselves.
So I'm Kendra Gentges, team manager of Texas Trio Team.
I'm Tiffany Johnston, Realtor here at Coldwell Banker Properties Unlimited.
Awesome. So we are really grateful that you were able to hop in with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, there's just a lot of exciting news going on in the real estate industry. And so we just wanted to have you on as a person of insight with so much knowledge about life and just living in general. So what got you started into the real estate industry?
So really, it kind of, my mom was a realtor when I was younger. My mother-in-law was a realtor early on in her career as well. And so real estate's kind of always been in the forefront of my mind. My husband and I got married in 2000 and we did, I would say, play around with some investments, joined a couple different people in some investments. And so at the time I was an educator. I've been in education for about 17 years. And as my daughters got really busy and things got really crazy with family life, things were adjusting, and my husband and I just kind of visited and said, what's the next chapter for us look like? And it just seemed like a really natural shift to go into real estate. And so I did. And that was in 2017, and I haven't looked back.
And you're one of those people that, we look at, we're all very busy in what we're doing every day. And when we do see you, like, it's really chaotic as far as like what you're managing every day. So how are you managing the work-life balance and what that looks like for you?
One breath at a time, a lot of grace for myself and to everyone involved. We're all just doing the best that we can on a day-to-day basis. And we have to remember that, sometimes the demands of real estate, you feel like you kind of have to have that phone on your hip, but at the same time, that's not healthy for anybody. And I think the longer I've been in real estate, the more I've realized I will do the best that I can when I can and take it day by day. As we navigate the market, the interest rates, the inventory, the ups and the downs that happen that are out of our control, I have to remember I'm only able to control the things that I can control, and everything else is out of my hands. And I have to be okay with that. And I haven't always been okay with that. There's been times, throughout my life, really, that, you just want to take the wheel. You just want to take charge. But I've learned that when you try to take charge of the things that are not within your control, the only person you're directly hurting is yourself. And then indirectly, spouses or family or whatever it may be. But I'm a busy person. I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't know how to not be busy. I'm learning how to not be busy all the time. That's a learned trait for me. But I love it. Every day I love that I wake up unemployed every single day, and I have to get it and have a lot of really cool conversations with a lot of people about, like, when do you sleep? Let me get back to you on that one.
So you said that you were an educator for a while. So tell us about that role and how that impacted your life.
Yeah. So coming right out of my years at Texas A&M with my bachelor's, I was an ag teacher in Sealy, Texas, and loved it. Loved everything hands-on that ag, being an ag teacher and FFA advisor was. Loving all things rural life, the animals, the leadership opportunities that these kiddos get through those programs was great. And then about second year into that, I was expecting my first child. And I was driving from just outside of Tomball, Texas to Sealy every day, which wasn't a big deal when it was just me or just, me and my husband. But when we had another little one on the way, that kind of shifted the dynamics a bit. So she was expected in May. I didn't quite make it to the end of the year health-wise with that pregnancy. So it adjusted things. And I spent 2 years in ag. Don't regret it a bit. Learned a ton. Loved it. It actually paved the way for me to be able to start up and be a 4-H leader when my girls were younger as well. Having not been in 4-H, but understanding the concepts. And when you're an ag teacher, you can't know everything about everything, but they teach you, you've got a network, you've got people. You won't know the answer, but you'll be able to find the answer type situations. So it's been a really cool journey for that. But then I tried to stay at home That was funny. I learned real quickly I'm not wired to be a stay-at-home mom. I respect those who can. My goodness, engineers of the household, phenomenal, but I'm just not wired like that. So, and we had just built on acreage in a new community, so I didn't really have that support network. It's always hindsight. Looking back, I go, man, we've built some great relationships. If I'd known those ladies and those moms then, but we didn't. And I learned real quickly I was a happier mom if I was working and racing to get my kids at the end of the day. So I stepped back into education in the Waller area, and I stayed there for a number of years in lots of different ages and ranges. And in that time in public ed, I had the opportunity to go back to A&M to get my graduate degree. So I got my master's from A&M. I got to teach some undergraduate courses during that time, which was a phenomenal experience. That was a 1-year fast and furious journey, writing a thesis and doing all the fun stuff. Started a little bit of my PhD studies, just the way my hours were rolling. But then it was time to raise my family. Kind of put the brakes on a lot of that, which was kind of intended, but you sometimes learn as you go in these roles in these years. So went back to being able to just focus on our little family of 4 at that point, and stepped back into education. Had a great time. The ups and the downs of education are what they are, but I'm thankful for my time in the classroom. I'm thankful for the students who still run into me at grocery stores and Miss Johnston. I'm like, oh, bless your heart, sweetie.
I'm a realtor now.
You grew up and got older, and you changed, because when you're teaching, at that time I was teaching mostly junior high and high school kids. And so they go through a lot of changes in those years. I said, you got older. I just got old. Like, I probably look the same, but you changed. I need your name. And the minute they say it, I typically,
clicks.
Yes. But great times. Enjoyed it. Enjoyed the relationships that were built in those years. But again, when I stepped into real estate, I haven't looked back. And it's been full circle, because a lot of the families that I've met in my time of education have become clients. So that was fun. It's been real fun.
Mm-hmm. So with your real estate career, I know you cover a lot of different areas, but a lot that I see you focus on is farm and ranch. Mm-hmm. So do you feel like your background from teaching ag has played a major part into specializing in farm and ranch?
Yes. I think it goes to before that. Okay. Having grown up, my grandparents have had a ranch in Grimes County. And I grew up spending many weekends when I wasn't having high school activities and all the things that my high school activities as, drill team and band and whatnot. We were up there gathering eggs in the garden, working cattle, doing those things. And so it set an early love in my heart for what that is. And it was something I always strived for. And I'm going to call out my husband a little bit. I don't think he'll mind, but he did not grow up with that. He grew up in Kingwood. So it's suburban America. And when we met at A&M, I think he wanted that life. Good thing, because he got it and all the chores that go with it. But it's what I love. And I live, and I always like to say, you live the life you love, or at least you should strive to. And we talk about creating a life that we don't have to vacation away from, although getting away is always healthy and always good. But my husband drives into Houston every day and all over Texas for his work sometimes. And people go, why do you choose to live out there? He says, because when I'm home, I'm home, and it's those things that set, and we now see it full circle with our girls, that our girls have lived that rural life and been able to do the FFA projects and raise and show at the county fairs and be FFA officers and all the things that you can do in that walk. So much that when they come home from college now, they come and visit, and this is home to them. And even my oldest that's in Waco, senior at Baylor right now, she says, Mom, I miss this. And she knows she may have to go and get a job and pay her own bills very soon. And it may require being in the city for her business degree. But her ultimate goal is to get back to small town America. And I think we've done something right if we've instilled that in them. So when I see people wanting to do that, I say, do it sooner rather than later. Like, you can't get those years back. And to each their own. Some people that's not on their goal sheet, and that's okay too. But we try to help people understand it's a great life. It's a lot of work, you know. There's early nights or early mornings and late nights, and the weather factor doesn't get to factor into whether we get out there and feed the critters or whatnot. But it is something I wouldn't trade for the world. It's great.
So what's your passion, like every day whenever you're waking up and seeing your beautiful surroundings that are around you? Like, is it your horses, or what is it that, you know, that you love the most?
So I have a strong faith. And so that definitely plays into the blessings that I have each and every day. Looking out at, I grew up really poor, actually. The ranch that I talk about working, it wasn't anything fancy. And my grandparents were stable, but my parents were not. And coming from a split family, I have vivid memories of kind of what shaped me to work so hard is there were times like we didn't have food on the table. It was free and reduced lunch. Like we were getting food delivered to us from the food pantry. Didn't know if we could get bills paid. The only way I could participate in certain things in high school was because somebody sponsored me. Otherwise I couldn't pay for the, sign up fees for softball or even afford cleats or whatever it might've been. So, that shaped me a lot about, in how I approach life, of an attitude for gratitude for every single thing that I wake up and I see those beautiful sunrises and I see those sunsets at the end of the day and looking out and going, man, sure is different than what I remember from years before. But it also takes work, and I'm not afraid to work. But my girls know, and you never want your kids to go through the struggles that you go through. You always want them to be better than you. You always want them to live more than you. So I wake up every day working for my family, pushing for my family, doing those things for my family, knowing that every day is a gift. And my girls know that there are people who struggle. We were involved very much. By the time they were in junior high, we were involved in National Charity League, which is a mother-daughter organization where you serve your communities together. So as they were in junior high and through high school, we served hundreds and hundreds of hours at places like food pantries, resale shops, pregnancy centers, Susan G. Komen, breast cancer awareness races, March of Dimes, just various organizations, nonprofit organizations, because I wanted my girls to see, like, you don't struggle, but there are people in every corner of our world, every corner of our own neighborhoods and communities that struggle. I wanted them to not have to struggle, to be in touch with those who do, to build that empathy, that sympathy, to know that no matter where they are planted in their life and their jobs and their work, that they can make a difference. And I've seen it in their young adult years now, that my oldest chose to go Greek life at her school, which I know nothing about. I just write the checks sometimes. She picked a sorority that does hands-on for a battered women's shelter. And my younger daughter signed up her freshman year at A&M doing, she loves to bake. That's kind of her stress relief, is baking. She joined a club called Cupcakes for a Cause, where they bake cupcakes, they sell them, and that they chose an organization against human trafficking. So kind of set a seed in them that I never really saw coming, but to kind of sit back now that they're young adults and I'm not so directly involved, it's like, man, girls, all right.
That's good
job.
That's going to make you proud as a mother.
It does. And that's that. I love what I do, and I don't think I'll ever be able to live a life of the slowed down necessarily. I'll always be active in something, but what drives me right now is, I got girls in college, and I've got, I try to vacation with them when I can, because that's when we can just kind of unplug and disconnect, especially now that they're not at home, and just make those years matter, those last bits of years matter. And we'll have to marry them off one day. And have you priced weddings these days? I may have to sell my spleen. I don't know. So, those are those kind of, that little bit of external push to keep working, keep striving. And then next thing you know, I don't know how I got here, but I'm already like, before I know it, I might be a grandparent. I don't remember getting old, but I think I'm at that point. So it's just really neat to see life unfold in front of you, and to be able to look back and reflect on where you've been. that whole saying of, the woman you were 5 years ago or the woman you were 10 years ago would be really proud of where you are today. And I think about that constantly. Like, I am proud of myself, but it's not really truly about me. Like, I'm a self-starter. I'm a go-getter. Yes, all those things. But I truly feel it's a blessing to work with the families that I get to work with the individuals I get to work with, whether it's a first-time home buyer or it's an investor, whomever it may be. So I just take each day in stride, or at least I really try to. I try to get some rest when I can, but it's great. I wake up every morning just appreciating what I have.
Yeah, it's a really humbling experience, to start, the best way I can say is like started from the bottom, now you're here, like it's just, you went through so much, and there's such an appreciation from coming from nothing to creating something that, you can wake up and be like, whew, I made it,
Being the first one in my family to go to college was like, I felt like that was a big deal. I mean, and it was, it definitely was. And my younger sister also ended up going to A&M, but I look at her and I say, you surpassed so many people's expectations from the challenges that she had from early on. And so I just knew everybody can break a cycle, everybody can make a difference. And I'm big about, we have a choice. It's hard. And I was just talking to somebody about this like 48 hours ago. It's hard, and I don't ever want to judge somebody, but we all have a choice, and we all have the ability to wake up and do something, not just for ourselves, but for others. My girls, the age they're at, it's all things social media, but and they're adults now. I still pay their phone bill, but they're adults now. And I've highly encouraged them, for every selfie or for every little personal post you make, put something out there that's encouraging. Feed the souls of others around you, because you never know who's watching. So
yeah,
I try to remember that myself too.
Yeah. And one of the things I think, just that whether it be law of attraction or manifestation or whatever that looks like for someone creating like what they're wanting to do with their future, is one of the things that sometimes people forget is you have to give back, like in some sort of capacity, in order to receive.
It fills your tank. Like, you can't pour into somebody if your tank is empty. So, I'm big about, whether you call it, I think in education, a lot of times they call it bucket filling a bucket, but you also have to have a full bucket. So you have to have time, or, early on, I learned it as a tank. You have your emotional tank. And whatever that looks like. For me, it's horses. Like, it's my place. It's the quiet of home life, your little refuge. I told my husband years ago, you're either going to pay for horses in the barn or you're going to pay for a shrink. Let's see. And he thought horses were cheaper. I think he's learning maybe not so much. But yeah, no, absolutely. And but you have to be able to take those moments and it's big about how much, if you truly out loud, you verbalize your gratitude, the things you're thankful for. It is a mind shifter. And so I catch myself, sometimes getting into the ways of the Debbie Downers or whatever. And I'm like, whoa, sister. So I just get straight into that. Today I am thankful for, and I say it out loud in my house. Luckily, nobody's there listening. So
I think it's like the saying, if you love your job, you'll never have to work another day in your life.
Right.
And I feel like that is the same in life. If you wake up, what is your why? What is it that you want to do today to make a difference? And just being happy with yourself and what you're putting out there.
Right.
Can make such a difference. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I mean, like I said, I do not regret one day of teaching. Yeah, there were those hard days, and I have such a respect for educators. And in my time in education, I was an administrator for a while, and my main focus in that was to love on the teachers, feed them emotionally, sometimes physically, feeding them, creating an environment where they felt appreciated and felt valued. And I know, you can talk for hours and hours on education, but I know that the teachers that are the happiest are the ones who feel like they're making a difference. And I know that they are, and they may not always see it when they're in the trenches, but if the teachers are listening, you make a difference. My girls still to this day recall so many amazing teachers that impacted their lives. And like I said, I still run into students from many, many, many years ago who they now have kids of their own type situations. So, but yeah, it's that life is so short. Why not, again, live that life you love? I was talking to a dear friend this past weekend. I was fortunate enough to get some tickets to an Aggie football game, which I am an Aggie tried and true, and I'm also a pretty big football fan. So we went, had a little girls' day with my sister and my dear friend who is in education. She is more in the administrative level, but we were just chatting, and she said she's learning to take trips at this stage in her life. Like, I think I want to just take some more trips and see places I haven't seen. And she's like, maybe I'll become a airline stewardess, what do they call them now? Flight attendants. Mm-hmm. And she's like, maybe I'll become a flight attendant and earn the points and get the free flights. I'm like, do it. Why not? Just do it. The older I get, I think the braver I become. Like, I'm not going to jump out of a plane brave, but I am all for, like, try something new. Life's too short not to. What are you going to, I don't want to live with regrets, I guess.
So if you could tell yourself something, like if you could tell your 12-year-old self something, like looking back on things, what would you tell her?
12 was a tough time in my life with my parents having split at 10. And then 12, I was in junior high, and oh man, I was a gawky kid. I had the freckles and things weren't balanced. And, I would probably look to her and tell her, you are loved and it's all going to be okay. Because, I taught junior high for many years, and those kids, they're going through so many. I always said their bodies are going through changes their brains can't comprehend. And they don't know how to love themselves. You just have to kind of love them through those years and know they're going to be okay. I think about some of the kids that were the knuckleheads, and now they're police officers, and they've got kids of their own, and it's all going to be okay.
Yeah, I was actually, I was talking to somebody, and they said it like an analogy, but it's true, of the person that you were then, back when you were a kid or a teenager, and maybe in your 20s, and then like the person you are now, like physically, like just as a human body, like you are not the same person anymore.
Oh my gosh. So many, just the wiring. Like, I love neuroscience. I spent a ton of time in graduate school, just learning the brain, in the focus of leadership and education and things of that nature, because my master's was in educational leadership. And golly, I don't think people understand the power that a brain is and how we wire. I mean, negatively, positively, everything in between, but those pathways and how your body is chemically wired, all the way down to the foods that you eat, that whole adage of your vibe attracts your tribe, like the people you surround yourself with, the self-talk that you give yourself, all the things, everything from your routine of when you wake up to when you go to sleep, and how you function from day to day affects your wiring, and what it can do when you make those changes and you start to see that wiring kind of switch and create different pathways and habit breaking and all of that. There's a few habits I should probably break, but we're all human, and one breath at a time. But it can, like I said, I'm a firm believer in, we all have choices to make each and every day. So it's neat to watch. And like you were saying, there's power in it, definite power in it.
Yeah. So whenever it comes to, education, this clearly is something that is highly important to you, and learning and expanding your knowledge and giving it back to others. So what was that, like, what was it in you that was just like, this is something, knowledge is power? Like, what was it that you were like, I need this in my life, and it's going to get me through to the end of time, basically? So something that stands out to me, I can be kind of headstrong sometimes, which can be good, but I think there's a couple key things. My grandmother, my mom's mom, was just like salt of the earth woman. And she lived to the ripe age of 90. She lived a good long life. But if you think about, and she passed away a few years ago, but if you think about in the years that she lived, she got a business degree, which was like
that's kind of the pioneer type. For women to go to school past high school was very rare, and to study all things business. And then she had a long lasting career in Houston when working for a couple different companies, but Stewart and Stevenson, which has, I think, now been bought out. Anyways, accounts payable, accounts receivable. Like, she was in the business world, and she was in a lot of ways like that original boss lady type. She wasn't that type of personality, but she was that person, and she did it with grace and beauty. When I moved back, I played softball outside of Texas, and I missed Texas way too much, and I came home real quick. And that's when I transferred to A&M. I looked at her, and, we talked about, we didn't have the money. I paid my way through school. Like, what was this going to look like? And I think I paid student loans well into my 30s, but I did it. I think at one point back when it was Houston Community College, I got accepted into all things animals, all things ag, into a vet tech program, which I thought was kind of a cool deal because, again, first one to go to college. She looked at me and she said, "Baby girl, go to the university, go to A&M. If that is your dream, do it." She pushed me. She believed in me when, for respect of others, not everyone always did. Moving back to Texas and things, I didn't always have those people to push me and say, "I believe in you. You can do this. You will finish." She did. And I think that was huge for me and my personality. I already had those people who had already told me, like, "We don't think you're going to finish. We don't think this is going to manifest into what you think it is." And that kind of already made me go, I'm going to prove them wrong, because that's my hard-headedness. But then for my grandmother, whom I respected, to say, don't settle short, don't sell yourself short. Don't just go to this partial fix, which long-term I wouldn't have been happy with. Go for the big picture. You can do this. And I did. And I transferred to Blinn and then to A&M. And that's where I met my husband. And so it just put me on a trajectory. And I don't know if she hadn't have told me that, I would not have pursued it. I probably would have taken the easy road. So, I think that was kind of a defining moment that's always stuck in my brain. Yeah. And that encourages me to encourage others. You can do it. Is it going to be hard? Yeah, it's going to be hard. Is it going to look like the journey of your person next door to you no, but it's your journey,
Yeah. And I think that's one of the biggest things that people can aspire to is, think beyond what your current beliefs are like formatting for you. It's just like, think so big that it's like, it seems impossible. And then when you get it, like, then that you did it and just keep going.
Right. And I think, and I promise I don't do this to toot my own horn under any circumstance. I like to share with people, a lot of times, some people have come to me before and they're like, "I never knew you struggled as a kid. I never knew you had you seem to hold yourself so, well." And honestly, I had so many times in my life where I could have gone down the wrong road, the dark path. I could have, when you're poor and you don't have a lot, the only people that will be your friends are not always the best circle or the best group. But I had some integral people in my life at certain points, but I had made up my mind that was not the life I wanted. And somewhere I found that power. My mom had told me at one time, like, "If you are in a situation, you just blame me. I'll be your scapegoat." And I did, and it worked. And I told those people who offered me poor choices no, when I could have said yes. But I say all that to say every single one of those choices led me one step further in the right path. And then I want to be this person. This is the vision of what I want to be for myself, what I see myself being. And I pushed for that in my education and the way I carried myself and the way I operate with other people. And I chose to, I guess, I don't know how to say it really, but I wanted to be a person that when people saw me, they didn't see somebody who has struggled, and I just want to live a good, positive, loving life. I want to pour into others. I want to, love on others. I want to inspire others. And I guess I fooled a few people along the way. I don't know. It's just part of my journey, and I don't mind sharing that, because again, going from living kind of that comfortable middle tax bracket average family prior to my parents splitting when I was 10, and then going through this very long journey of nothing to now living a life of abundance and goodness. You can always look back, but it just takes that one step at a time, and choices. So I don't know, I guess maybe that's my title for the day, choices.
I think it goes back to, your vibe attracts your tribe, and you're a product of your environment that you decide to stay in. So it's just what you do with that, I feel, is like the trajectory of what's going to be next for you.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Now that my girls are gone, we've kind of entered that empty nest season. And it's like, oh my goodness, she gets so caught up in the busyness of running kids to every little sports event or going to these things. And now you don't have that. We still support them in their college endeavors as much as we can in any way that we can. But there's obviously more time on our hands. So as my husband and I have kind of stared at each other long enough and kind of gone, what do we do now? We've stepped into more roles of serving on boards and volunteering in different committees in the fair. And a lot of people do that when their kids are young, but I just didn't feel like I had the sanity to offer them at that point in my life. But I do now. And so let them be with their kids. Let me, I've done that. My time is over with that season to go in and support, like I said, whether it's county fairs or a national charity league or serving on different nonprofit boards that we serve on, or being involved in our church or whatever it may look like. You can always find ways to give back. You can always find ways to stay busy. And I think a busy person understands a busy person. But I look at him sometimes, I'm like, hey, let's take a weekend off. Or we have a weekend, we're like, what do? We just enjoy it. Just enjoy it. My youngest has taught me to do that. Sometimes she's like, I said, hey, you're home. Do you want to haul the horses? Do you want to go here? No. Okay. She just taught me to just kind of take it easy a little bit.
Mm-hmm. And it's important to have those reminders, whether that be like from our grandmothers that like give us influence through our life, and then just the younger generation coming in and say, sit down, sit down,
sit down, Mom, take it easy. Yeah, exactly. I think we forget we learn so much from our children, just the same.
Yeah. And so Kendra and I have had the honor of being on like the South Central board this year and serving as, the treasurer and director on there. So we saw that the ballot that your name is on there. So are you excited about that new opportunity?
Yeah. I mean, there's some amazing people on that board, and I don't know if I'll receive that,
you'll
honor,
make it.
But if I do, I think it's just another way to give back. Am I a busy person? Sure. Does that mean I can't give back? No. I can always give of my time, and I think there's so many amazing people that will, I can continue to learn from. I think that's, again, back to my time in education. I love learning. I want to be a lifetime learner. I don't ever want to stop learning things. And again, I'm still trying to figure out this whole empty nest scenario, in terms of how much time. I know there's so many opportunities for realtors. We can go in. I think you, Tisha, you've done this before, but there's opportunities to travel and get different, certifications and accreditations and things of that nature. And I was like, oh, can I commit? And I think because of my daughter's, she's a college athlete, and her schedule, that hasn't always been the case. But as those seasons change, then in turn my seasons can change. But being on the board would be a great honor. There's so many phenomenal realtors, and I don't want to go in with the mindset of we need to change things. I want to go in and say, how can I help? How can I help this South Central Board of Realtors be the best board that it can be for its members? Whatever that may look like. And I like to be a sponge and soak it all in, and then offer ideas when needed. So
Yeah, and that'll be really good. I love that in real estate, there's so many avenues that you can go down. Whether you like the education or you like mentoring or you like just working with people, there's just like so many things and facets that you can go down. And one of the things that we work with in our area and just like the avenues that we both have kind of traveled, like, you know, it's so funny like that me and you both were like in Waller County and didn't even know it. And then like now we're here and it's like, hey.
It's so strange to me. I'm like, wait a second, I keep forgetting, you know, and then I go, oh yeah, how we never crossed paths, who knows?
But now we have.
But now we have. That's right.
So, but we were just talking about it on another podcast of just like, because we've had the experience in those areas, and then there's just so many ways you can go down, whether it be farm and ranch, unimproved property, you know, commercial real estate, things like that. What is it that you love about farm and ranch real estate, and how you feel you serve differently?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's because, you know, I love it. I live it. I want others to learn to enjoy that life just the same. But I think there's some really neat opportunities with farm and ranch to, I don't know, I hate to say this and sound cliche, but to educate people. There's so many people coming out from the Houston area and they're ready to buy just that little parcel of land, whether it's 5 acres or 50 acres. And not everybody, I won't say all of them, but not everybody has the background to understand the differences between mineral rights and soil types and water sources and the different ag exemptions that you can get to assist with your taxes. And, you know, out here we have such a diverse type of layout, whether it be the hills with the views or some flat land, or you've got black gumbo soil, or you've got a sandy mix. I just enjoy helping people figure all that out. I really do. Hey, here's some links and here's some education and hey, let's go to lunch and I'll help you guys navigate through this. And it's just fun. It's just fun to help them figure all that out. And they're so thankful to have somebody to walk alongside them in the process. And I think it just kicks up that, yes, there's always a process in buying raw land, or there's always a process in buying a house. But then when you kick it up a little bit more into that depth of understanding what this land can do and its best uses. And I will say, I learn something all the time. And for any agent to say they know it all,
they're full of it.
Oh yeah. They've not done this long enough or true enough or whatever it may be. So, I learn from my clients a lot of times, certain things, different aspects, different perspectives, but I always hope I can bring something to the table that we can all walk away being better and stronger for it. So, but yeah, farm and ranch is definitely something that I greatly enjoy. I'm always trying to learn more about it. There's so many opportunities, whether it be through your county extension offices, through your South Central board or whatever board you serve or serves you, to do the best you can. And we have such a cool dynamic out here in the Washington County, Austin County, Lee County, you know, gosh, all the bordering counties of what farm and ranch looks like. It's neat. Mm-hmm.
And like you said, like we were talking about earlier, is if you set a goal big enough, you know, then like set it so big that it seems unrealistic. Mm-hmm. It's kind of the same thing when we're working with our clients. It's like when we have that initial consultation, they tell us this big dream. And then sometimes we have to bring them into reality, but we want them to strive so big with what they're trying to do for their families. Right. For sure. And I think because I've lived it, it helps people see, oh, this is doable. But I want them to help them achieve their dreams, whatever that may look like. It may not look like my path. It may not look like any path I've seen before, but it's their path. And I want it to be a successful path for them. And I love the challenge. But I also love the opportunity to be able to, just again, go, okay, I haven't done a deal like this before. This will be cool. Because again, you can see all kinds of deals. You can see all kinds of transactions in real estate, but not one of them is the same. No, that's so true. I love it. Not one of them is the same. So you can always, I'm a firm believer, you know, we do, whether you're in education or real estate, you do have to do your continuing education hours and you have to go to these classes. You're like, okay, I've done this one, but I have to go again.
But I think it's that attitude. I'm going to walk in and I'm going to walk out with something new. Transactions can be the same. Like I've done a transaction like this, but I'm going to walk out having learned something new, either about myself, about, the agent I'm working with, about the property, the county, whatever it may be. So, never stop learning.
And it's always about the questions, asking more questions, whether that be if you're calling the county, if you're calling a title company, whether you're talking to the lender, like it's always about asking more questions to get more clarity to deliver the best results.
Yeah, for sure. And I think having those networks and those relationships is so, so very helpful. Having that ability to call them up and have that friendship conversation first. Not that makes any difference. Every title company, lender, they're all professional, but it's just knowing those people on the other side of the phone makes a great camaraderie, professional, everybody's shooting for the same goal. And when you know how somebody operates, what their wheelhouse is, it just makes for a smoother transaction for your clients. So, I always try to offer the best team of vendors to my people and say, hey, look, I don't have a professional relationship with any of these people in terms of, and maybe that's not the right verbiage, but I don't have a relationship with them, but I just want the best for you guys. I want the best lender for you. I want the best title company for you. I want the best inspector, whatever it may be. And so I'm like, here's your choices. These are the great ones, home warranty, all those. We know we are inundated with choices sometimes, but our job is to weed through and find the best ones in our scenarios. And whether it's residential or farm and ranch or anywhere in between, commercial, investment, development. So, I enjoy it. Every aspect of it. And again, always opportunity it's humbling. And sometimes I think we all get humbled. But it's humbling to know that, just as much as we know, there's always more. There's always more. So.
And I love that you said that, because there are some seasoned agents out there that do feel like they know it all and will not reach out to those vendors or relationships to get that clarity. So I think that's amazing that you do say, there are always other things that we can learn, and to reach out to those, specialties and just getting the best for your clients. Because unfortunately, there's a lot that do not do that.
And I think as humans, we get comfortable.
Yeah.
And I understand that. But I think when we get comfortable, especially in this industry, it's not good. We don't ever want to get too comfortable. I mean, look at all the changes we've gone through just in the last few months. We can't get too comfortable. In fact, I got a call from an agent who's been in this about the same amount of time as I have. They have their broker's license. They're more of a small brokerage operation. I've known them since prior to that. I've known them for years. And they called me and said, just basically said, hey, can we talk NAR for a minute? Can we talk about some things going on with a current deal that I've got, and I've got a listing, and then I worked with showed these buyers this property a couple different times, and basically they were looking for advice from me on, which it really surprised me, humbled me, and I went, wow, this is cool. They're asking me for advice on what would be the safest, most ethical route for them to take, and I told them some things that they probably didn't want to hear, but it's best for the industry. It's best for all of us as realtors. And at the end of that conversation, they understood and they said, okay, thank you. I said, you've got to, at the end of the day, look out what's best for the clients. You've got to protect yourself as a realtor, but you've got to look at what's best for those clients, and don't put your own self into that scenario of risk. So it was a really, I hung up that phone. I was like, did that just happen?
One of the things that I've noticed, and we could talk about it or we don't have to, it's just however we want to go into this. But one of the things that I've noticed on a lot of my listings these days is the first question that I get is the seller paying compensation? And it's just You didn't even ask anything about the property. If it has a survey, if it has, where's the copy of the deed restrictions, all those things that like you typically would want to know that might not be easily available.
Right.
And that's the number one question, which I find that to be kind of sad.
Yeah. And it's definitely, I mean, we're in such a tumultuous growing pain and so many people are uncomfortable, but you just have to have those conversations, open and transparent with everybody. And I can see, yes, very disheartening. Are you only going after that? Or did you get everything you needed from the MLS listing? I don't know. Maybe you did. Maybe your buyer says, I don't even want to think about something if I have to bring more cash to the table.
Used to be like when it was such a hot, such a competitive market, it was always, do you have any offers? Is there an offer deadline?
Is this property still available?
That's just like marketplace. Is it still available?
Right,
So that was really, a curve that we were going through. And now that's not the question anymore.
No, I know. It's definitely an interesting, unique time that I think we're all going to grow from this. I hope we all grow from this because, again, I have to remember to keep this in front of me. I hope we all grow from this because that's how we remain strong in our industry. And I was just talking to somebody today about that. And I said, or not that specifically, but about some similar conversations. And I said, well, I'm saddened by that because I definitely think that can cast a cloud on our industry. And that's not, it was some buyer clients of mine were looking at properties, and I've done everything from calling, getting, doing everything we're supposed to do as buyers reps to understand, to get power to that raw property, to be able to, but what would that cost look like? You've got 3,000 linear feet that you have to run poles, and you get a hold of a large conglomerate provider and you push 7 different times to get to the right person.
And then you get the voicemail.
I know. We will call you back in 5 to 7 days. But you get the answers. And again, I don't mean this to toot my own horn. Hear me out. When they said, you've worked so hard for us on all these land, we're not used to this. And I said, I am so sorry to hear that because there's some really great agents out there. We're just used to people sticking a sign in the yard and being done. And I'm like, well, I kind of feel like I'm doing that with this agent that has this listing that has not been of any help to me. But, I'm like, you want to list this and you want to do the right thing for your client. So I'm going to share the findings of the cost of this electrical, providing, because I don't think my buyers will look at that. But it's sad. And I encourage agents, go the extra mile. Go the extra mile for your clients every single time. They 9 times out of 10, they'll notice it. They'll know. And sad thing is I think they notice it because maybe it's not always the norm. But there's a whole lot of different ways to make some money in this country. It doesn't have to be with real estate. If you want to make money, find a way that you're not trying to hurt people or not. That's not right. We'll bleep that out. Find a way that creates an opportunity to build a strong relationship to last for years to come. Repeat clients, things of that nature, referrals. Be someone people can depend on.
You're good.
No, just be somebody that people can depend on. I think this world is short of that these days. I think about the times my husband and I, date night has returned to our house now that we're empty nesters.
That's healthy.
Yes, date night. And so we'll grab a bite to eat, on a random Tuesday or whatever. And I waited tables through college, that paid my bills through school. So I've been on that side of the table, literally. And it's interesting to me how customer service has kind of taken a downward spiral. All things, phones on our hips and our pockets and things. And we've been to a couple of really nice establishments lately and even still been, okay, maybe it's because it's not a Friday night and they're not too busy, but you're just not getting the care that you think you would. And I told him, I said, I guess we just have to get comfortable with this. So much that if we get great customer service, we really make sure they know that at the end of the night. But same with real estate, but we don't work on tips. But your commission is you should be ensuring proper service, customer service for your clients, and doing this in a ethical manner. I don't know. I guess it's just not the way I'm wired to think any other way.
Yeah. I mean, it's just the same as like going to your doctor. Like you could go to 10 different, specialists and, not feel like you're getting the right answer. And then all of a sudden one comes along, listens and has bedside manner,
Right. Yeah.
Same thing, it's just finding the right people with what you're aiming to do and making those connections.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, I would say there's always choices in your, your realtors, and you want to find, what I want to say that every single client wants to use me and is loyal to me. But I tell them from the very beginning, like, I want this to be a good fit for you guys. If my way of doing business, if my way of communicating, if this is not a good fit, I want you to have good service, because I'm a single agent. I'm not a part of a team or anything like that, because just the way of my life and the craziness of my life. But I never want it to be money driven, dollar sign driven. Your relationships can go well beyond that when people see that you're not driven by that.
Yeah, I saw Kendra and I actually went to Dallas not too long ago, and there was like a mentor that I had, and like it was a keynote speaker, and one of the things that he said, because he's been doing this for like since the 70s, helping others, mentoring others, and doing all that. He just said at the end, people keep asking him, like, now that you're in this stage of your life, like, what do you want? Like, what did you want? And he just said, I want it to be, on my gravesite to basically say the year I was born and the day that I died, and I made a difference. And it hit me like when we were sitting there, I was like, wow, like that should be the ambition for a lot of people, is just to leave a legacy.
Right. And I love that you say that, leave a legacy, because that's something that I've always that's been a line I've used throughout the years, is what legacy do you want to leave? And I encourage that in my children, or, when I was with my students, I told my students that every single one of you is going to have a different path. And you got kiddos who say, I'm going to the NFL. And I would say, that's awesome. Pursue that with every ounce of your being. But do you have a plan B? Because we all know the statistics of all of that. But I said, whether you are an NFL player, or you're going to be a mom, or you're going to be a trash collector, be the very best that you can be at that job. Be the very best for the people that you impact every single day. And you leave a legacy. A dear, dear friend of mine, some very close friends of ours, just lost their father. And he played NFL sports for the Saints, the Eagles, and I believe also the Vikings. And he passed just a few days ago. And he left a legacy. He was one of the kindest men I've ever met. He was always so joyful. And he was one of those that he left a legacy, not just with his family, but with the people that he impacted on those teams. And they've honored him beautifully over the last couple of days. But we can do that, and we don't have to be on the NFL screen. We can do that I have a saying above my mantle: the most important work we will ever do is in the walls of our own home. And I believe that full-fledged, like your family, and then what happens inside your home bleeds out into the other places. But we all have a chance, an opportunity to leave legacies or impact for good. We also have to remember grace. When people are having that person's not pleasant, well, we don't know what they've been up against today. This world is harsh. And I always try to think, okay, we don't know. They could be dealing with being a caretaker of a sick person at home, and they're just worn out, or they might be having financial struggles, or who knows, I try not to judge, but I try to remember I can impact them for the good. So maybe I can do something, say something. If I see a mama struggling with a little one in Target, been there.
Yeah.
You're doing a great job, Mom, that kind of thing. So,
well, that is just so positive. And so I think that's an amazing point where we can just, wrap this up, because it's just been such a beautiful, I love this conversation so much, and I'm confident you do too.
It's very light and healthy.
Thank you.
So if people want to reach out to you and maybe ask you any questions about, FFA or farming, or just maybe farm and ranch, how can
National Charity League. We've got a new chapter here in the Brenham and Belleville, Austin County, Washington County area. I serve on the national board, but I do know the ladies that have started the local chapter, and they're phenomenal. You'll see them around doing good works for all the nonprofits: Camp for All, Miracle Farm, local food pantries, Bread Partners of Washington County. That's just something I just give back in some way, somehow. But yeah, they can always contact me. cell phone? Is that what you usually tell people? Website. Yeah, you can always reach me at tiffanysellstx.com. It's got all my contact information on there. Feel free. It tells a little bit more about me and who I am. But I want to thank T3? I always still call it Texas Trio, the T3 team. Thank you, ladies. This was fun. I appreciate it. Happy to come back anytime.
That was awesome. We hope you enjoyed this meaningful and powerful conversation that we had today. So take care and keep living your best life.